How to do, y'all? My name's Chuck Tractorhead, and I'm somewhere in South America right now, the only place on the planet where the broken harmonica is a respected instrument. I'm just sitting here actually in my car right now, with my good friend Luke. How you going, Luke? How you going, mate? Can you just get out of my car? Just okay, Luke. I'm gonna be honest, Luke. This isn't a great opening sketch to the podcast. No one believes that I'm actually not you. So you can give up the act. Although, as a man from Southern America, I am a proud white individual, and therefore do fit in on this podcast, Memoirs of a White Guy. Man, my accent is inconsistent and is probably offending a lot of South American listeners right now. I'm done. That's it. That's the intro to the podcast. So, I'm actually in a car right now. I'm in my car recording the podcast because, my house is very busy right now. There's a lot of commotion. Dad's got AM radio pumping. Mum's cleaning the house. My brother just came from work. He's making lunch. There's a lot of commotion. I usually record the podcast on the Monday, but I'm busy tomorrow. So I'm like, nah, I'm just going to go for a drive, park in a random ass car park, which I've done. And I've realized now, I thought it could be fun. I'm like, oh, let's take the podcast to like a new place and we can comment on the scenery. I realized I've picked the most boring car park in Australia, so I apologize for that. There's a no standing anytime sign right in front of me and a no parking sign. So we may witness a live towing of my car during the podcast. So yeah, that's good content. So really, if you didn't get that at the start, the instrument I chose this week was the broken harmonica. Really, I don't know why. Honestly, I'm running out of instruments. Like, a guy only has so many instruments from his childhood in his house, and broken harmonica is really the bottom of the barrel. So, I don't know. Has anyone got any? Like, next week, in 3 weeks' time, it'll be clapping sticks. You know that, don't you? So, whoever suggested that I do the instrument thing, I think I just need to pick an instrument soon. I personally enjoyed the recorder last week. Anyway, what am I talking about? Who's listening to this? So what's been happening this week? Also, sorry if the podcast does sound like I'm in a tin can, because the car probably makes it sound weird, I'm assuming. But yeah, what have I done? On Friday, so 2 nights ago, I went and saw the new Harry Potter spin-off movie. Fantastic Beasts. No, it was Tremendous Beasts and Where to Locate Them. So that was a good film. And everyone's been saying that I look like the lead character, who's played by Eddie Redmayne. And I don't look like him in the film. I look like the actor outside of the film, because a few weeks ago, the actor Eddie Redmayne was on Graham Norton, that British talk show, and people started Snapchatting me pictures of them watching it going, hey, this guy looks like you. And I got like 5, and then it kept happening all week since this movie's come out, and everyone's like, oh, this guy looks like you. I'm like, I get it. It happened when he started. This guy was in Les Mis, and in high school people were like, oh, you look like the guy from Les Mis. And then I never looked it up. I was like, oh, cool. And then I only ever looked it up until someone came up to me and was like, hey man, you look like the guy in the new Stephen Hawking movie. And I was like, oh, okay, which character? And he's like, the guy who plays Stephen Hawking. And I was like, oh, okay. So there's cops that have, oh shit, there's cops that have just pulled up behind me. I'm not even kidding. I don't know if I'm about to get fined. Do I leave? Do I just drive away? They haven't come out of their car. They're just sitting there. I don't know what the cops are doing. I feel like, what is this? I mean, I am parked in a no parking zone, but I'm the only car in the car park. They're leaving. They're leaving! I didn't get fined. What? That was weird. You better run, pussies. You don't own me, okay? But please don't fine me. Alright, so they're gone. Okay, that was way to disrupt the story. What was I talking about again? Oh, the Stephen Hawking thing. Yeah, so someone came up to me and was like, man, now I'm really thrown off after that. They just parked behind me for like a good 30 seconds, stared at me, and I paused the podcast for a bit, and then they just left. They're like, oh, what a fucking weirdo, he's speaking to himself. They probably thought I was like doing heroin in the car or something. I wasn't, just talking to myself like a freak. So That's fine. So yes, someone came up to him and was like, "Hey man, you look like the guy who plays Stephen Hawking in the new movie." And I was like, "Oh, what character?" And they were like, "Stephen Hawking." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So then I looked it up, and yep, turns out I look exactly like Stephen Hawking. The astrophysicist, the professor, and the actor who plays him. So that sucks. But like, it's not surprising though, because as I've said before in this podcast, I literally just look like every white guy ever. So it's not when people go, you like in my comments on my video, all the comments are just, "Oh, this guy looks like you. Hey, tag Darren. This guy looks like him. Oi, have Matthew seen this? This guy is like, I thought it was Matthew for the first 30 seconds. That's pretty much all the comments on my videos. People think I've been blowing up online because my videos are funny. No, I just relate to everyone because I look like everyone's mate. So, um, some people are probably listening to this podcast because they just want to hear themselves do a podcast. Um, so that's a thing. I have a doppelganger, which I'm pretty excited about. I also have like a million doppelgangers apparently. So that's cool. What else has been going on? I wrote down a list of things I wanted to talk about, and that wasn't one of them. Yeah, so I've been doing gigs right this week. I've been starting to gig again, which is fun because I always go, sometimes like focus on videos for a bit, and then I do a bunch of gigs in a row, then don't put out a video, then do a bunch of I find it really hard to juggle both videos and stand up at the same time. It doesn't sound hard, but it's a completely different writing process and a completely different headspace that you've got to be in. Because when you're doing stand-up a lot, you're constantly in that performance headspace if you got to go out every night and put on a show for people. But when you're writing videos, you're like, oh, I've got to allow time to edit that, or I've got to, and I'm teaching myself little things to do with editing and stuff as I go along. And I do a lot of research for my videos, especially like the music review ones, and I'm writing a few other videos at the moment that should be coming out in the coming month or so. So I've been doing a lot of research. Anyway, I've been doing gigs. This week was gig week, and what happened? Yeah, I think all the new material that I tried went really well. I tried some new stuff on sloths. If you were following me on Snapchat, you would already know that. My sloth material killed. It's bizarre. Don't know. Something funny about personifying animals. Like, it's never not funny. But yeah, the story I wanted to tell you about stand-up was, so Wednesday was good. I did 2 really good gigs and they were pretty strong. And the Thursday gig, I had just come straight from work and I rocked up to this, it's just like all the gigs are just in shitty little bars or whatever. And I rocked up and I thought I was only doing 5 minutes, and I got told like that day that they wanted me to do 10, and I was like, okay, yep, cool. And I just wasn't really in the headspace for stand-up at all. I was still thinking like I was at work, and I rock up, and we're waiting for... So Khaled Kalafala was doing his trial show afterwards. He's a fellow comedian of ours, and he was doing a trial show after the stand-up night. So I was the feature act for the stand-up night. Then Khaled was doing his trial show afterwards. So I got up there and was like, yeah, we'll do 10 minutes to finish the night. And Khaled's already supposed to be there because he's ready to go on after me. And Khaled's not in sight. So I get up on stage and I do a bit of material, try the new stuff, it goes alright. And it's a bit of a weird crowd. There's only like 15 people in the room. It's at this crappy bar. It's really late at night. Everyone's kind of done. And I'm up there just trying to stall because we're waiting for Khaled to arrive. And lucky Lewis Spears, he's a past guest of the podcast, was also in the audience. And he wasn't supposed to go up at all. He didn't want to be on stage that night. Neither did I, really. And lucky he was in the audience because then he eventually got up. But I was supposed to do 5 minutes originally. Ended up doing over 15 minutes. And I'm going to play some audio. I recorded the gig. I'm going to play some audio right now. And it's literally me. I've never stalled so hard in my life. I just started pointing things out in the room and then talking about them. And it was one of those nights where I was so tired and a bit delirious that I just started losing my shit at all my own jokes, like more than the audience. And what you're going to... See, here's the thing. I always play stand-up footage in this podcast of me like doing weird shit on stage. Like, it's not funny if I go, hey guys, here's a bit of footage of some new material, absolutely crushing it in front of a great audience. No, I always go, here's a gig where I'd said dumb shit in front of 15 strangers. Enjoy. So Yeah, I feel like I don't give a very good reflection of what I'm like on stage at all during my podcast, but nonetheless, it's funny regardless. So yeah, what you're about to hear is audio. Now, the only thing you need to know is the place looked like a kind of 1950s diner. So like it looked like the bar from Back to the Future when Marty goes back to meet his parents in the past. So that's all you need to know. So here's the audio of me stalling on stage because we're waiting for Khaled.
That's a good one. It's great to be here. Man, this bar reminds me of like in Back to the Future when they go back to the thing and like kiss floor bit. Like, let's all make our parents fuck. So yes. We fly. What am I doing? I'm stalling. She said I'm doing 10 minutes, I'm just not. Okay, so I'm going to start again. Hi, welcome to Thank you. So, anyone been watching The Bachelor?
Yeah!
Yes? No? Well, you should. It hasn't been on for ages, so if you said yes, that would be fucking weird, but
Yeah, so that was me reintroducing myself to stage because I'd just given up at that point. So that ended up being a fun night. I ended up doing 5 to 10 more minutes after that, and then Lewis got up there and he didn't have a plan at all, so he just ratted on Khaled for 5 minutes, and then he eventually walked in. Everyone gave him shit, and then Khaled killed, and it ended up being a great night. So that was fun. Also, what happened? You'll notice I'm not in my car anymore. So what happened is I paused the podcast here yesterday for I'll leave a gap to put that audio in, and then everything deleted. I think I hit the mute button and then literally didn't realize and spoke to myself I just answered all your questions and spoke to myself in my car for another 20 minutes and then got home and none of it was recorded. So that was the loneliest thing I've done all day, but my car didn't get towed. And so that was yesterday when I recorded the first half, and now you're hearing the second half recorded on Monday. I'm sorry that is confusing and annoying, but let's be honest, this half sounds better quality. And in the first half, I sounded very puffed, and I was just sitting in a car. I still sound puffed right now. I think I'm getting really unfit. I need to go for a run. But yeah, what did I want to talk about now? Oh wait, before I do that, I was listening to the bit back on me talking about my doppelganger, about how I look like Eddie Redmayne, and I realized that I've already talked about that in the podcast, I think. I think I had talked about it once when Lewis and Ryan were... I didn't tell the story completely. I told it in a lot less detail, but I did mention it once, so sorry you had to hear that again. But I'm not going to go delete it because I'm a bit of a dick, so have fun with that. Alrighty, what's next on the agenda? Oh, yes. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't want to discuss the same things that I recorded yesterday because I already talked about that, even if it was just to myself. I'll re-answer the questions that I answered, though. But yeah, I thought I'm going to talk about this because I didn't talk about this yesterday and wasn't going to talk about it. But Justin Bieber punched a fan in the face during the week. It was so funny. So if you didn't see what happened, he was arriving to a concert in, I think it was Barcelona. And he was obviously being chauffeured in a very nice car. He probably had little African kids pampering his ass below the line. You can't see it, but he probably has a Thai lady constantly jacking him off in the Rolls Royce. And he actually wound down his window. There was a bunch of fans waiting for him, and he wound down his window to say hi to them, right? And then this one dude, this guy who was a massive fan of him, just starts running towards the car and then sticks his arms straight into the back seat of the car in Justin's face. And then Justin just goes bang, right jab to the face, and then all these girls just start freaking out. It gets caught on video camera, so TMZ and Entertainment Tonight just start coming in their pants like, shit, we got a story! Oi, we got a story! Justin Bieber did something remotely interesting. And they're like, what? Last week he did something shit and we still reported it anyway. Man, this week might be something closer to actual journalism. And then they all start patting each other on the back. And the best part about the whole thing was after the guy gets punched in the face, which by the way, he deserved. Like, Justin Bieber, credit to him, there's a bunch of people waiting for him who's clearly coming to his show, and they've clearly got there like probably like a day early to even see him, and he's bothered to wind down his window and he's waving just to all the girls screaming at him, and they're not, like, even the freaky girls who are like, oh my god, I'd wear his skin, they are not even coming to the car because they're like, oh, I don't want to be a psychopath to his face. But there's just one dude who just makes like a V line, dead straight to the car and reaches both hands in to grab him. I don't know why he was trying to grab him. Like, maybe he was actually trying to wear his skin. And all the girls like, we just fantasize about it. You're actually wearing his elbows as a hat. It's a little elbow yarmulke just on just on the top of your head. And the guy's like, what do you mean? Although the girl's like, oh, good reference. Cannibalism's okay now. But yeah, the point is, the guy kind of deserved to get punched in the face. Like, he was up in his grill. He was invading a personal bubble. I mean, I would. Say if I went to a comedy show, this would never happen, by the way, at a comedy show, because no one ever gets, like, swooned on, like, oh my god, he's so funny. And then girls just start running at you. People just go, I get it. Now, tell me another joke, dickhead. But yeah, say if I ever got mobbed, say if I ever started doing music, right, and then got like 10 times more attractive overnight, and then people just started swooning over me, I would 100%, if someone got that close to me, if someone actually grabbed me by the collar through a car window, of course you'd punch him in the face. I'd probably try and get a foot in there, to go for like a fly kick through the window. You go for a headbutt. You do whatever you can to make sure your elbows aren't worn as a traditional Jewish hat, a yarmulke. You do, of course you would. That'd be annoying as people, like, he would get it all the time too, like people running at him, and obviously the security's usually there, but if someone gets that close, you'd just be like, you just hit him in the face. And then, yeah, so the best part about it was, after he gets hit, the guy just starts fagging the fuck out, like he's like, oh my god, oh my, did anyone say that? And all the girls are still screaming because Justin Bieber's there, and no one is looking at the guy who just got punched. No one gives a shit. All the girls are still like, Justin! And like, they're running towards the car, and he's just gotten smacked in the nose, and he's sitting there going, excuse me. And then he just starts miming a punch to his face to get people's attention. He just starts swinging his arms, going, this is what happened to my face. And then all these girls flood around him, but not because they give a shit that he's been hurt. They go, oh my god, Justin Bieber touched him! And they all start giving him sympathy, and they're like, I want to be, punch me in the face, Justin! Like, there was no empathy involved. It was all jealousy. They were like, I should have tried to wear his elbows as a little hat. And yeah, then it ended. And then TMZ made $1 million. Apparently the guy's gonna try and sue Justin. Good luck, mate. What's Justin will be like, good, just give him like 10 grand. It was worth it. It felt good on my knuckles. Like, Justin's got like cashed his shit. And this guy, honestly, he'll probably love Justin Bieber more. And look, Justin Bieber's not going to say sorry. I mean, the guy probably wants him to. He's like, Justin, is it too late to say sorry? And then Justin's like, shut up, but nice reference. And all that girl's like, oh, good reference again. Oh, man. But I got me thinking, right, I'm like, I'd punch a fan. If one of you guys tried to grab me by the neck, I'd knock you cold, man. I'd punch the shit out of you. Probably get you on the ground, put you in like a grappling hold, and then just let like Lewis or whoever else is there just lay into you. We probably like tag team you like WWE. I'd just tap in and then I'd just finish you off, or vice versa. So yeah, next time I'm being chauffeured around in my private car, which is just an Uber, one of you guys comes to the window, I'm just gonna bang, knock you out cold. But that's the thing though, Justin like can be loved, like fans still love him, like, oh my god, I love him even when he's committing assault. But like, if I just punch one of you guys, that's just like 1/100th of my audience just gone for that night. So yeah, I'm not gonna do that. I mean, I wonder how much he could get away with Like, I wonder if people would still love him if he became a serial killer. He's just like, oh man, he's only done like 4 murders this week. He's still got sick tracks. Like, I reckon he could take it pretty far. But like, honestly though, he cops so much shit on a regular basis. He gets shit thrown at him on stage. People have been trying to pick fights with him in the street for years. I mean, I think he deserves just one punch a decade. That's what he gets to punch a fan every 10 years, and then he's done. And so every 10 years, all the Justin Bieber fans line up, and then one gets sacrificed. But they all want to do it. They're like, punch me, Justin. And then none of them like wash their face for 5 years. It's like, this is where it hit me right here, and then like they got a busted lip, and like that's infected. Like, I know, that's my pride and joy. Anyway, I'm gonna start answering some questions right now. I think it's definitely got to that time of the podcast. All right. What's the first question? Actually, I've got to follow up that one from last week. So I've got it here. Hi Luke, I found your YouTube channel and your podcast a few weeks ago, and I love your humor. I'm from Argentina, and English is my second language, so I get lost sometimes with the Australian slang and accent, and I was wondering if you could talk about it on your podcast. And I said, yes, I'm going to do some research on this during the week, and then I'm going to do a full 5 minutes on it next week. Now... I'm lazy. So, no, but I did do some research. And by research, I Googled a typical Australian slang. And, oh man, I got some crackers. Here's the thing though, because sometimes I felt like I had to be reminded of what was actually slang. Because I just say a bunch of bogan shit all the time and don't even realize it. And other people will be like, man, that's like just pure filth coming out of your mouth. And I'm like, you know what, mate? Yeah, you're right. So the first one, but the problem is when you Google typical, like this one, speaking Aussie style, they're not accurate. No Aussies actually speak like this. So if you're from overseas, don't Google how to speak like an Australian, because we don't use this language. We use some of them. The first one on this website is just boomerang as Australian slang. That's not slang. That's not an expression we use. That's just the name of an object. Like, a boomerang is a hunting equipment used by Aboriginals, and it's shaped like a banana. You throw it, and it throws... And everyone knows what a boomerang is, let's be honest. But yeah, it's not short for boomerangalang. It's called boomerang. So, yeah, Clara, I still don't know how you say name. Whoever sent the email, I can talk about it, but really, we don't say half this shit. So, on the website, it says, like, crikey. We say stuff like crikey, fair income, like, ironically. We say stuff like that ironically just because, like, it's funny to be more Australian than you actually are. We do say stuff like arvo, or because arvo is short for afternoon. But surely we're not the only ones who can't be fucked to say that whole word. Like, who's not shortening that? Afternoon, I'm tired by the time I get to the end of it. We say mate all the time. G'day, mate. No worries, mate. Oi, mate. Hey, go, mate. Oi, mate. Stop saying mate. All right, mate. Sorry, mate. Like, everyone, that's how we speak. That one is this one stereotype that is definitely true. Australians say mate all the time. Grouse. I do say grouse a lot, actually. It means good or great. The one weird thing that everyone knows is we call flip-flops, or what most of the world calls flip-flops, thongs. And you guys think we're talking about underwear, but really we're just talking about comfortable footwear. Don't be disgusting. Another classic one that you do kind of hear often. Here's the thing, I don't think I've ever said many of these on the podcast. I don't know, some of them might slip out on the podcast, like easy as piss, or she'll be right. Easy as piss means simple, easy, it means piss easy. That's the worst definition of it, saying the word in the definition. She'll be right. People use that. It means like it'll be all good. Sometimes, I think I might have called people a dropkick on the podcast. That might have been confusing for overseas listeners. Dropkick is just like an idiot, dickhead. Do people even use dickhead overseas? See, I'm saying all this stuff now and I realise that, yeah, I speak like a bogan 24/7. And I don't even realise it. So I'm sorry for all the overseas listeners. All the Australian listeners, just like, righto, mate, you're not that Australian. What else do we say? The big one, I reckon, is the two big ones, is bottle-o, because everyone else says bottle shop. And who's saying the full word? Oh, hey, mate, I'm going to go down to the bottle shop. You're what? Just, mate, you're not even going to get there in time if you keep using the full word, alright? You can cut off a nanosecond every single time you say that word. That's the thing, I've probably saved so much time over the years from being an Australian. Just because we don't speak properly, you just save time because you don't have to say words. And people just understand what you mean. That's good. That's why we're so laid back, because we've got a bunch of spare time. If you guys started talking just incorrectly, you'd have heaps of time on your hands. Trust me, it's awesome. And the big one is we call McDonald's Maccas. But surely we're not the only country doing that. But we are the only country with signage that says Maccas. So in Melbourne, on Swanston Street, probably the busiest Maccas, or the busiest McDonald's in Melbourne, actually says, instead of McDonald's with the big yellow M on it, it says Maccas, MACCA apostrophe F. And you look at that and you're like, yeah, that's the most Australian thing of all time. Like, we've somehow made an American franchise Australian as hell. Like, Farlap and Don Bradman probably just high-fived in their grave. I assume they're buried together. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much Australian slang 101. So really, actually, another thing I might say in the podcast that may have been confusing, I may have said that's not cricket before. And that is like a really bogan thing that no one really says. It's just me. You say like, that's not cricket. It means like, that's not cool. That's not good. But really, cricket's shit. So I don't know why that's an expression. Yeah, that's pretty much Clara or Clara. I still can't say your name, which means I shouldn't be teaching you how to speak. This is what I said last week. I can't be teaching people how to speak when I can't do it myself. So yeah, I hope that's a real How to Be Aussie 101. If there's any if you have any queries of weird shit I say, just send it in. But really, you shouldn't be listening to this podcast as like a how to speak English if you're learning this as a second language. This is not a great example of proper grammar and pronunciation. But yes, thank you for the question. All right, next question we've got from Kyle. Have you ever written a joke and... Oh, wait, hang on. Before we do this, Zoe from last week, also from Argentina, messaged me back saying she was the one who couldn't pop the zit on her back. Turns out her and Clara, man, I wish I could pronounce your name. They're actually friends. So I suggested that they meet up and then Clara pops Zoe's zit. But then, yeah, she's like, we're friends, but we're not comfortable enough yet to pop each other's zits. And I was like, man, get new mates. Honestly, you should be able to pop your... I mean, for a laugh, you can pop a mate's zit. I mean, use from a distance. Prod it with a thing. Prod it. Anyway, I had to follow that up. But yeah, they're actually mates. So I don't have two random people listening from Argentina. It's just a weird friendship group who needs to find a better hobby than listening to Australian podcasts. So, all right, the next question is from Kyle. Have you ever written a joke and found out that it had already been made, or have any of your jokes ever been used/stolen? Good question. So I have actually written a joke, and then it wasn't like a professional comedian had done the joke before. I was doing this joke. I'm going to have to burn the joke a bit. So the concept of the joke is, it's going to be in my show next year though, so can you all just forget this? So the concept of the joke is that the widest thing you can ever do, the widest dude thing you can ever do is mistake a fist bump for a high five, but then recover with a hand hug like you meant it. And it's the most awkward thing ever, right? And I have this concept where I do it and I explain the situation in which it happened to me. And then I was doing the joke for a while, and then a couple of comedians came up to me and were like, hey man, just want to let you know that another comedian who we also is on the Melbourne circuit with us, he's a great dude, he's a good friend of mine, Michael Schaefer. He was doing a joke with a similar thing about the mistaking a fist bump for a high five, but it wasn't really in the same context. And I spoke to Michael about it, and he was doing the joke in 2014 or something, and I started comedy in 2015, so I'd never seen him do it. I didn't copy it off him or anything, but I spoke to him about it and was like, hey, I heard that you have a similar joke, I can stop doing it if you want. And he was like, I told him my joke, and he was like, that's not similar at all, whatever, just it's an old joke of mine. Just keep doing it. It's not even slightly similar. So that's probably the only time it's really ever happened. And I asked him, and honestly, it was so far different. The only thing that was the same was which is a common concept of someone just misreading a fist bump for a high five. That was the only thing I've really ever seen someone else do that I've done. But yeah, and I've never had a joke stolen from me. I don't think anyone will be dumb enough to do a joke that they stole from me in front of me. So, no, I don't think it doesn't really happen, man, because that's like in comedy, jokes, if you're a joke thief, like that's the worst. That is the worst thing you can ever do. I actually actively avoid trying to even talk about topics that other comedians talk about. That's why I talk about weird shit like sloths and the Bachelor, and you know what I mean? Like that's literally what I talk about because no one else is talking about that shit. And also, sloths are hilarious. They're so slow. Like sloths, they look elderly all the time. Even like they're at the height of their youth and they're moving like 2 kilometers an hour, everything they do. Like when they breathe slow. Like if you fast forwarded a David Attenborough documentary, it would just look like a normal documentary with the sloth part. Oh man. Anyway, so this is what happens at the end of every podcast. It gets significantly less funny than it was at the start. Anyway, next one. This one's a review that was emailed to me because the person couldn't work out how to post the review. Anyway, they said, "Hi Luke, so because I'm apparently incompetent and can't post my review like a normal person, sorry if you get 5 of the same popping up in the near future. I honestly don't know what happened. I'm emailing it to you, so it's going to be a bit weird." It was going to be weird whether or not you posted it or not. Anyway, so they said, "Podcast review, 5 stars. You are my savior, my knight in megaphone fucking armor." Thanks very much. Wait, that voice in my head making me fucking swear after every fucking word. Dude, I don't even swear that much. You're making me swear. I swear like 3 times a podcast maybe. Calm down. Well, now 6 because you've made me read that out. Anyway, you're my excuse for a hobby. When people ask me, what exciting thing do you do in life? I usually tactfully change the conversation to tissue boxes, wall paint, or something else equally as interesting. Seriously? Do you really think it's okay to just come onto this podcast and start dissing tissue boxes like that? Just throwing mud. What do tissue boxes do to you? Okay, you can't just come onto this. Man, that's a whole demographic of my audience that are now upset because you've come on here. They've done nothing. I mean, at least they can cry into themselves. And if they want to have sad wanks, the tissue boxes can just come in themselves and then dispose. What happens to this podcast at the end? What happens? Now I'm personifying tissue boxes. Alright, I'm going to keep reading. Now, after avidly listening to your podcast, I'm a changed person. I can tell them that I follow some guy who posts random stuff online. Generic faces, penis curvature, that sort of thing. See, I have talked about my generic face before. Damn it. You bring total awareness of trivial things to a completely unoccupied audience. Thank you very much. That's what I go for. Why? I don't know, but I love it. You've made me realize just how weird podcasts can be. But no matter how lame my life is already without podcasts, there's no going back now. Honestly, it's great. All the best, Eliza. Thank you very much, Eliza. I do really appreciate that, except for the tissue box diss. But yeah, it's such a true thing where before you start listening to podcasts, you think they're lame. It doesn't sound cool. And then you start listening, you're like, oh shit, that's cool. And then I started listening to Hamish and Andy, and now I listen to like 10. There's something about just walking around, listening to people talk shit in your ear that amuses me. So, yeah, thank you very much, Eliza. I'm going to read a couple of more reviews from iTunes while we're at it. Yeah, so if you want to go leave a review, definitely go do that. This one is, it says, perfect, 5 stars, too kind. My face aches from smiling the whole time after listening to this classic podcast. Genuinely a good way to relax while driving home from uni in my car that white privilege alone has afforded me. Some really funny stories. My personal favourite is the one about the fat bird. Definitely one to pass down through the generations. That's actually, yes. Actually, here's the thing. I wasn't going to talk about this in the podcast, but I will now because you brought it up. So I did tell a story a few weeks ago of I saw the fattest bird, and it just flopped like it was flapping and it couldn't really fly. It was very funny. You know that like game Flappy Bird? It was like that in real life, but it was like Fatty Bird. So the other day at work, I didn't see the fat bird again, but I'm like 40% sure I saw a drunk bird. So what happened is I was walking and then there was a beer, like a Carlton draft, just spilled on the ground, and then there was beer leaking out of it, and then a bird came over and was sipping, like definitely drinking the beer for a while. And I was thinking like, man, it mustn't take that much beer because the birds are so small to get them slightly drunk. And then the bird just flew away after a bit, but as it was flying away, it like ran into a tree, it hit a tree, and then the tree, it ping-ponged like off, and it hit a wall, and then it just kind of flew off. And obviously, I started crying with laughter because I'm a child, and I ran in, told my boss again about the drunk bird, and no one was impressed about the drunk bird story, because I told my girlfriend as well, and she was like, yeah, I think you just saw a clumsy bird. And and then I looked back on the story and I was like, yeah, I just watched an uncoordinated bird fly into a tree and then a building. That bird was not drunk. Because, I don't know, I think I got a bit too excited of having another bird story for the podcast, and then I was like, oh, I was drunk and I was definitely hammered. You should have seen it. It was like, it popped 3 pills as it flew away. It was heading to revs. It wasn't at all. It was just clumsy, and it probably had a headache. And now I feel bad for laughing at it. Yeah, so that's another bird story. Man, if I have a new bird story every 3 weeks, now I'm just going to be one of those freaky bird watchers sitting outside with binoculars trying to get more content for the podcast. I'm going to keep reading this review. Luke always sounds smarter than Lewis Spears, even when never providing thorough step-by-step advice to listeners' questions. I mean, is that really a compliment, though? Being smarter than Lewis? I'm going to tell him that. That's hilarious. So, thank you very much. This is the end of the podcast. It's been going for too long. I am running out of questions, so you can keep sending me questions at luke.kidgell@gmail.com. There may not be as many videos this week, we'll see, just because I'm going to really try and focus on writing stand-up this week. I've pretty much taken I think I've got the week off gigs. I might do 1 or 2, but see, I can't stop. This is the problem with me. I feel unproductive, but I do need to take a week off. I really need to focus on my show next year. I've got like 40 minutes of material, but only like 25 minutes that I'm really happy with. I just want to make it all like the best material I've ever done. So I want this next year's show, my first ever show, to be my best content by far. So it far surpasses my online stuff, far surpasses obviously far surpasses the podcast, but I just really want it to be worth people paying money and coming out of their houses to see. So I'm really excited about that. All the dates are locked in for Melbourne. The tickets, people have been asking me when tickets are going to go on sale. Probably late January, early February, because the festival is in April. And then the rest of the tour will be announced probably, late February as well. Because also, this week, I've been talking about it for weeks, but this week I'm going to actually try and set up the mailing list so you can all sign up. So for wherever you're from in Australia or around the world, sign up to my mailing list. I will not email you really on it. I might email you when tickets come out for pre-sales so none of you guys miss out. But yeah, I'm not some Arabian prince who's just gonna just spam your account. So all I want to do is pretty much you sign up and you will tell me where you live, just what city you live in, and that helps me decide which places I'm gonna tour. Because really, I can only tour where there's people interested to come see my show, obviously. So if you want to see my show, I've been working really hard on it. Definitely join the mailing list when I get it up, and then if there's lots of people coming, keen from that place, I'll probably come there. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I don't think I have anything else on the podcast. Oh my god, there's this guy coming into my room. Well, how to do there, Luke? My name's Chuck McTractorhead. I think that's my name. We did record the podcast yesterday, and I have forgotten my character's name. But I'm just gonna sign off with a little ditty I call "Oppression is for Africans." Man, that's one of the most offensive things I've ever said on the podcast. Thanks very much for listening. I'll see you next week.